You have entered the Chronic's rabbit hole. An army. Welcome to or welcome back to the channel. My name is Kyle, aka Chronic.
And I'm Alana, aka Thumbnail Lady.
And because all of you voted for this, it was Suga's birthday month in March, and we're now getting to it in April. But we are diving all the way in on all the BTS members, and y'all voted for Suga to be the next one we jump into after we had done Jimin. Now we picked this documentary first because it looks like it's a very good isolated one, saying this is BTS, the story of lonely Suga who only wants to be loved.
Aww.
And that title just sounds so cute for some reason. We know he's strong-willed anyways, and we know he gets through it in the end. But it's cool to go see some of the turmoil that he kind of went through before seeing all the triumph on the other end.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to get into this because, like you said, this sounds really cute, sounds really soft, but we also know that he's taken heads in a lot of his music videos. So, like,
Or all
of them that we've seen so far. So I'm really excited to see how the lonely story of Suga became the taken head story of Suga that we know today.
Nice. I know you mentioned that Suga kind of is one of your biases with BTS. Is there something about him that stands out for you that makes him so attractive for you?
I really like his rap style, but I really like he's always I interpreted him as being very soft and um reserved,
Yeah.
and that was kind of my very first interpretation of him, especially, and like sweet. I guess that's the best way, because I always thought Suga was like sugar, so like there was
Right.
a sweetness there, and there is a sweetness there. You can see
Yes,
it
there
even
is.
in this paused still here. There is a sweetness in him, but he is very determined, very strong-willed, very confident in himself, and that's those are a lot of qualities that I really respect.
Absolutely, you do.
And
Yeah.
so he
Has them in spades.
yeah, he has it in spades, and he embodies a lot of qualities that I respect. So he and all the members do. So like I don't really want to necessarily say it's a bias, but I do have a lot of respect for Suga and for what he brings, especially even within his music videos and like the trilogy that we're going through with.
Incredible.
Like they're absolutely incredible.
Hey Gum, we
So
just did, and you guys gave us a lot of love for that. Thank you.
thank you so much. So yeah, this is so that's why I think I kind of
resonate
with him, because he embodies a lot of those aspects that I really cherish.
That's awesome, and I know all you voted for this as well, so you were happy. We were happy when you guys voted for this, and if y'all are here on YouTube and didn't be a part of the vote and you want it for the next vote, you can join our Patreon. We have a free trial there too, and you can also see our stuff a day early as well. So let's jump right into this though. If you do like this and you have any fun, just hit that like button for us. Here we go.
Suga was a quiet boy, but he liked basketball and sports so much that he won basketball tournaments several times.
There you go.
Also, he wanted to be a cultured person.
That's why I'm wearing it, y'all.
You love basketball. You still hold the record, and no one can beat it in the town that we live in.
Yeah, 48 points, y'all, and they took me off with 6 minutes to left because they thought I had 50.
No.
And I've never let them down.
Basketball tournaments several times. Also, he wanted to be a cultured person, so he read novels, poems, essays, and everything, regardless of the genre. Then one day, 13-year-old Suga was shocked by a group's performance on TV and decided to be a rapper. So he started making rap and composing in 6th grade, and already in his 2nd grade of middle school, he was on stage with his friends at school festivals. However, those around him, including his relatives at the time, said, "Everyone who makes music will ruin the house. There's no way he'll succeed. He will definitely fail." And even his parents objected to him doing music. But Suga, who was enraged, decided, "I will succeed in music and show it to them no matter what."
A kid's doubt's powerful.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Suga...
Let me rephrase that. A parent's doubt on the kid who wants to show them who's right is powerful.
Because you can, as a parent, that's something like I speaking as a parent, as a child who experienced this, But as a parent, it's really interesting, like difficult, because there are some things that you may say that you don't even think are that big of a deal in a way, but can be absolutely crushing to a child.
Game changing, right?
Game changing.
Yeah.
I remember my aunt told me something once about my outfit, and it stuck with me my entire life. And like, I'm in my 30s now, and I still think about this thing that she doesn't even remember saying.
Right.
Because it was casting doubt of an adult onto a child, and that doubt
And you respect the authority.
You respect the authority, and that doubt is so powerful, and it can either destroy or motivate and empower. And it's up to the child how they're going to take that doubt and how they're going to utilize that into their power or into their own destruction.
That's why you're kind of built with a mentality, right?
Yeah.
So he's definitely got the Mamba mentality.
He's got the Mamba mentality.
Meanwhile, Suga, who went to high school, started writing, composing, and arranging songs at his studio in Daegu. But there was no place in his neighborhood where he could learn practical music, so he had to go to a studio far away. At the time, he was making some money doing all sorts of work in the studio, but that alone wasn't enough to cover living expenses, such as food and transportation. In fact, there was a $2 jjajangmyeon restaurant right in front of the studio at the time, and there was a $1 noodle restaurant which was far away from the studio. However, if he ate $1 noodles, he could take the bus home. But if he ate $2 jjajangmyeon, he had to walk home for 2 hours, so he used to be in agony over his food choice. Later, he was introduced to work at an underground music field with the nickname Gloss in the crew D-Town. But even with the performance with his team members on the stage, they received so little money, and sometimes they weren't paid at all, and this continued. The studio, which was located in the basement at the time, was often leaking when it rained, and they didn't have money to put furniture in the studio. So they picked up a discarded mattress from the street and slept there and played music like that. Meanwhile, these memories of making music in such a difficult way made him realize one thing. He saw that some of the older members who worked with him were already in their 30s, but they had to work another part-time job, so it was still difficult to support themselves. Suga thought, I can't do that. Surviving from playing music in the underground music space is impossible. From this point, he decided that if he succeeds with music, he wants to play the role of a bridge between popular music and an underground music field.
Yeah, do it, honey. Yeah.
I'm gonna go back 10 seconds here. That's extremely powerful, and that's something that it takes a leader and a role model to be able to want to take that bridge position, because that bridge position is one of the hardest, most difficult positions that you can be in.
And we've seen what the interviews were doing, the interviewers to Suga and like RM who were pushing back and saying like, you guys are wearing makeup and stuff. You ain't no bridge for us.
Yeah.
Right? And that we're about to see that interview coming onto this documentary again even.
I'm really interested to see like that whole interview, because we've seen clip-its and we're about to see some more. But it's like they went hard on Suga and RM, and they had to defend themselves like intensely.
And that's what I was referring to for like the role of the leadership, because he was getting so much pushback on it. But I guarantee you don't hear the people who are just supporting him all the time, because it's a lot of no-name people for us that don't have the influence, and that's the whole point. He's trying to be a bridge too, and that's really cool.
Because like, look at the difference. Look at the major gap between the underground record label that they were working with, sleeping on a mattress that they got outside, versus Big Hit, and the discrepancy between the two management companies. Like that, to be a bridge between that and to bring acknowledgement to the underground will also increase and like help maybe lessen the gap, not get rid of it, but maybe even help bring in more recognition and allow him to be a role model for other kids who are in the same position that he was in the past.
And I totally agree, because we know we're about to go into chapter 5 of the Rise of Bangtan, and on that chapter it was talking about when they're going to team up with like Coolio and Warren G, which are big time rappers, which is a way that he's bridging, so we know it does eventually get there too.
Absolutely.
Music and an underground music field.
저는 언더그라운드와 메이저의 가교가 되고 싶다고 이야기를 했어요.
뭐가 되고 싶다?
가교요, 가교. 이어주는 다리가 되고 싶다고 했는데.
And one day, Suga heard that Pang Shi-hook was holding an open audition. As side information, 6 years later, August's song 724148 revealed his feelings when he left Daegu and came to Seoul.
Ooh, nice beat.
On the other hand,
I love
Suga
his
was
beats.
talented enough that he produced the song 518062 himself in his second year of high school, so passing the audition was natural for him. Thus, he won second place in the Big Hit First National Audition and finally entered Big Hit. When he passed the audition, he thought he was just going to work as a songwriter and producer, but Bang Si-hyuk had more in mind for him and tricked him into signing a different contract.
So cool.
In fact,
He's
he was
yelling.
preparing for his
I
idol
remember
debut.
this, so funny.
Meanwhile, everything was really difficult for Suga, who was only
I
18.
think that's cool because you know this person, Suga, can do everything for this band or anything he does because he knows everything in the inside out. He didn't even think he was going to be performing for them. He thought it was going to be songwriting, and then now he's like one of the main rappers for BTS.
Yeah.
So isn't
It's
that cool?
insane.
18 years old and came to Seoul alone from Daegu. In order to fix his Daegu dialect, he had to read the news continuously and finally fixed his dialect in 2 years.
Wow.
However, the
Some hard work.
$300 that his parents gave him wasn't enough to cover the food expenses in Seoul. As he continued his trainee life, not knowing when he would make his debut, things only got worse. With the company running out of money to invest in trainees, his team on the brink of dissolution, Suga also found out that his family was on the verge of financial ruin due to high college fees. In this dire situation, he did what he had to do. So he worked part-time on the side, and while making deliveries on a motorcycle, he suffered a shoulder injury in a traffic accident on a rainy road. When he came to his senses right after the accident, he realized that the tire of the car was right in front of him, and it wasn't until the next day that he realized his shoulder was dislocated, and he couldn't move it. However, he kept the incident a secret, fearing the consequences like being fired as a trainee, because he worked part-time in secret and had been in a motorcycle accident.
That's true. Yeah.
He trained hard despite his injury, which was not properly treated on time, and this made his shoulder condition progressively worse, and even started to threaten his career.
Oh my gosh.
Meanwhile, 3 years had already passed since Suga started his training. Life as a trainee was already tough, but the mounting pressures around him made him even more anxious and nervous.
So he dislocated his shoulder and didn't tell anyone, so that means he had to relocate it himself.
Yeah, I guess that does mean that, unless it heals back naturally.
No, you have to like
Pop it back in.
pop it back in. Like, that's extreme pain. Like, this man is tough.
Perseverance. Again, Kobe. I've seen
Man.
Kobe have his finger snapped to the other way, and then he popped it back in and kept playing. This guy is like
No wonder
Kobe.
he's like Suga, shooting guard. Like,
It
that's
makes sense.
it makes sense.
You're not forcing anything with that description.
No. Holy crap.
Yeah.
The question,
respect.
when the hell are you going to make your debut, was always in the air. In the song Path, which was released after his debut, he also expressed his difficulty before he debuted. One day, while practice was repeated endlessly, Suga became fed up with his trainee life, which seemed to be neglected by the company, and said to Bang Si-hyuk, "I'll quit now." Of course, he got scolded badly and was sent back to the practice room. At that time, Suga thought producer Bang Si-hyuk had randomly picked 3 members and left them alone, so he blamed him for that. But after some time passed, he realized that Bang PD gave the 3 of them enough time to do their own free music. Meanwhile, during that time, he worked so hard that he wrote verses every day,
Gotta
just
give
like
that
the phrase
freedom.
"one day, one verse,"
Yeah.
putting in all the emotions he felt at this time. Also, he had to keep practicing dancing because when he came to Seoul, he didn't have any dance experience. Considering he trained hard and worked too, you'd assume he slept soundly at night. But the truth was that he was so plagued by fears about the future that he couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
However, over time, new members joined the team and eventually they made their official debut under the group name BTS.
둘, 셋, 차! 안녕하세요, 방탄소년단입니다.
안녕하세요, 슈가입니다. 팀에서 랩을 맡고 있습니다.
I love his eyes.
No More Dream
Yeah,
was
he
the
has
title
great
song which
eyes.
BTS members made together along with Bang Si-hyuk. RM and Suga, who were active in underground music
God, they've
before,
evolved
worked
so
so
much.
hard that they repeatedly wrote and erased the lyrics of No More Dream nearly 20 times. Bang Si-hyuk PD hoped that the members' own feelings would be expressed in their music and asked them to write them down every time. So BTS made songs and lyrics, each member and everyone together. And Suga, who had started composing since he was a teenager, performed with other hip-hop crews on several occasions, and could even produce before that, was the only member of BTS who had everything under control at the beginning of their debut.
Wow.
Because of this, he had a lot of
He counts his
responsibilities
bricks.
at this time, and used to state before the others, "Don't think that there will be a huge response. Also, don't be discouraged even if there is no big response." And his wish really came true when BTS received the Rookie of the Year award with great attention. With receiving the Rookie Award in their debut year, the future of BTS seemed bright. However, at the time, BTS struggled for a long time with fellow rappers and reporters who sarcastically criticized them even in public, saying, "If you're an idol, you're an idol. What is a hip-hop idol?"
방탄소년단이 무대에 올라갔을 때 뭐 이제 분장을 한다든가
맞아요.
또 메이크업을 하는 거 이제 어떤 힙합과 충돌되는 부분이 있을 것 같은데
그런 게 아니라 여자.
Cross-dressing like a woman.
Shut the
Oh.
front door. Come
Shut the
on.
front door, exactly.
여자같이 입고 다니는 게 여장이
I
아니에요.
didn't hate it
수가
so much.
근데 이제 아까 슈거님이 말씀하셨듯이 이제 되게 힘들었고 그리고 막 곡 팔고 막 그런데
그렇죠.
10원도 못 받고 그러셨다 그러셨는데 다 그래요. 네 맞습니다. 네, 다 그런 사람들이고 다 진짜 그렇게 하고 있는데
Everyone's lived like that, so no
이제
sympathy.
결국에는 그걸 끝까지 버티고
Can you endure it? No.
버티냐
You want to just stay down? That's like such a horrible mentality.
Horrible mentality.
That's why so many kids don't get out of those projects and those mentality gangs and groups that you
and why
become
you
in.
keep ending up getting into another mentality or into another cycle, because you get into that, well, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing. Oh, you can't endure it, I can endure it. Look at me, look how well I'm enduring this pain and torture and staying at this level.
I could
instead of-
cross-dress and become famous, because that's
Yeah.
essentially what he's saying.
That's what
here,
he's
and
saying.
That's pretty rough.
That's so wrong. That's so wrong on so many different levels.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's disrespectful. It's so
disrespectful because unbiasedly we love Eminem, and if you don't love Eminem, I love
Eminem.
We love Eminem. And when Suga came in with his August D out of the 2 songs from this trilogy, that's some of the best rap I've heard.
Yeah.
In the 20th century, the 21st
Absolutely.
century at all. So like, honestly, they are bringing it, and I'm only saying that like that's why he was so attracted to us as a ear, and that's why what they're saying makes no sense.
This interviewer is simply jealous.
Simply jealous.
Is
You got that
simply
right.
jealous, and
Made
he's
it.
making statements to try and elevate himself by bringing other people down below his level.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at someone who is in a lesser position than you, that's what they're going to do.
You got that right.
Try and bring you down.
Insecurity's coming out.
네. 버티냐 이거였던 거. 제가 4년 전만 해도 저도 매일 저녁 먹을 돈이 없어서 그런 슬픈 이야기는 다 여기 다 그게 다
Everyone has a story.
그걸 바꾸고 싶었어요.
Sugar, I want to change that.
뭘로? 제가 강시영 본인이 아이돌 해가지고 그걸 바꿀 수 있다고 생각했어요? 사실 뭐 수년간 안 바뀌고 있는 저는 그냥 그런 마음이에요. 뭐냐면은 그냥 미움도 없고 아무것도 없고 뭔가 그냥 같이
Wow, he changed his tone real quick there. Because Suga's like, I want to change it. And he's like, oh, you think you could change it by becoming an idol? He's like, well, no, it hasn't changed in a really long time, has it? That's all Suga said. He's very articulate. And the guy's like, well, I agree with you there. And as soon as, like you've said, as soon as you're in a position like what we're watching happen right now, as soon as you can get the opposition to agree with you on one thing, then
That's
you can,
right statement.
It's a that's right statement.
Yeah.
So now you're able to have that conversation because you've broken through that wall. You've broken through that barrier.
Yeah.
And that was Suga's that's right statement. I want to change this, and it hasn't changed for a really long time, so now it's time for it to change.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree. Okay, then let's talk.
Let's let everyone eat.
Then let's everyone to eat. You shouldn't have to not be able to afford dinner.
No kidding, right?
So good.
사람들인데
Suga's an inspiration.
뭔가 그걸 유혹을 못 이기고 같이 뭔가
그걸 유혹이라고 말씀을 하시니까 좀 이해가 잘 안 가긴 하는데요. 네.
RM and Suga had been
then he
active in
turned it,
underground
why is
hip-hop
it
for a long
temptation?
time before their debut, so they were especially prejudiced and sarcastic about their activities as hip-hop idols. So of course Suga was also reluctant to become a member of an idol group in the first place.
That makes a lot of sense.
In fact, he said this when he remembered his early debut days. Actually, after my debut as an idol, I'm still very worried. I've always had a victim mentality. I thought, I've been doing hip-hop since I was young. Now that I've become an idol, people will see me differently, won't they? Since he was a hip-hop idol, Suga thought that the only thing that could break that prejudice towards BTS was good music.
Got that right.
So he became more obsessed with music work. And around this time, there's an incident that shows that he was really sincere about music. It was during the year-end schedule that his appendix ruptured and he had to undergo surgery in a hurry. Afterwards, while hospitalized for appendicitis, he worked even in the hospital room and eventually completed the song Tomorrow.
Wow.
This song, which he had been writing since he was a trainee, was Suga's favorite song, and it also features the lyrics, "Because the dawn right before the sun rises is the darkest," which fans like. And in the second mini-album of the school series, Suga presented Jump, which he wrote with RM when he was still a trainee. And 6 months later, in their first full-length album, he produced his own song Let Me Know. Before recording, he even gave advice to the members on how to portray the feelings right while singing it. Additionally, Rain, the first song which mentions Suga's shoulder problems, also contains the memories and feelings of his trainee days.
First song to mention.
And from that
And
point
he's,
on,
like, touching his
Suga was
shoulder
fully
there,
immersed
too.
in music and spent all
I think, like, Suga just reminds me a lot of your mentality and what you go through as well. And I think that's why he means so much to you, is your perseverance and his perseverance. Like, Hannah, literally, I've seen her roll her ankle maybe 3 times and just continue to go on with the day like nothing even happened.
I worked on a fracture in my foot for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
While I get the perseverance that he goes through, and I think it's because of that relation of what he's willing to do to keep going and keep moving, and to be like, no, I have more important things to do. I have goals that I need to achieve. I'm not going to let this small fracture or this dislocation stop me because I have shit to do.
He has something to prove, and he even self-said it's a bit because of his little bit of the victim mentality that he carries, and that kind of does make you want to prove people wrong a lot of the times too, right?
I can relate to that as well.
Yeah,
so
that's what I mean. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. That's why I
all
love
his
him.
time in the studio,
You'd
the
be a shooting
broadcasting
guard.
station, and at home. He even said that he spent 3 straight days in the small studio, which was about 35 square meters, and never left except to use the toilet. He even said that those days were pleasant and beautiful, leaving a sad impression. When I have enough time, I'm happy to be able to work all night. I feel most comfortable and happy when I work in the studio. Anyway, I don't have many friends, haha. I might have been more immersed in music because I wanted to be proud in front of my family and fans. This is the only thing I can do, and I am so happy to give joy to many people by playing music.
He does.
However, he was not only immersed in producing music. In the case of the title song at the time, Danger, he practiced the choreography for 16 hours a day, so he truly was diligent in all areas. And in the most beautiful moment in life, Part 1, which was released 8 months later, he also presented other masterpieces. Lyrics from
Breathe
Moving
or
On, a song that
Dream.
was written while thinking
Wow.
of his mother.
What do you think
received a
that
lot of-
means? Breathe or dream.
If you want to achieve your dream, sometimes you don't have time to breathe.
Yeah, you can't even think about it. It's
Can't
just
even
next,
think about it.
Next.
Keep going.
Keep going.
Lyrics from Moving On, a song that was written while thinking of his mother, received a lot of attention. He also performed other great songs in The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2. It was so hard that he wanted to run away while changing the verse 20 times in 15 days in the studio. But he finally made it, and that was the song Nevermind. The song that he produced himself, Dead Leaves.
To give up.
We've heard this one,
However, after making a comeback...
Dead Leaves? We've heard that? No? Okay. I recognize the name.
However, after making a comeback with The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, his harsh sleeping schedule, which consisted of less than 3 hours of sleep a day, became a problem.
저희가 다 해내니까 회사에서 이런 무지막지한 스케줄을 시키는가 봅니다. 그거 얘기한다고 나갈 것 같아요? 그렇지. 하소연 하는 거야. 진짜 요단강에 발 담그고 있어요 지금. 건널까 말까 지금.
저희 금요일보다 하루 더 하셨어요 지금. 하루를.
시간도
3시간 이상 안
Oh jeez. What day
More
is
than
it?
3 hours since
who had been
Friday.
active since then, cancelled the 2015 Japan concert due to health problems such as dizziness during rehearsals just before the concert.
本日の公演が中止になった理由についてお伝えしたいと思っております。公演の前にシュガと V 君が体調不良を訴えましてリハーサルを中断し、現在病院に移り専門医の診断を受けました。
What a way to say it.
네, 그래서 CT 촬영을 하고 이제 주변 결과로 큰 이상이 발견되지 않았고요. 그런데 좀 공연 중에 저희가 아무래도 퍼포먼스가 굉장히 격렬하다 보니까 좀 어지러운 모습을 볼 수 있다는 진단을 좀 받았고요. 그래서 혹시 최후 상태를 좀 조심스럽게 지켜봐야 하는 그런 좀 소견을 받게 되었습니다.
いつも見守ってくださり応援してくださっているファンの皆さんに改めてお詫びを申し上げるとともに最後に I Need You の日本語バージョンをお聞かせしたいと思っております。
They're crying.
Makes more sense for crying,
今日
doesn't
くだ
it?
さった皆様に今一度心から感謝いたします。
The Japanese version for them.
それではお聞きください。
Suga remembered hurting fans by not being able to stand on stage due to appendicitis before, so he said that he had to go on stage no matter what. But everyone around him, including the medical staff, stopped him. In the end, in front of countless fans who gathered to see BTS, he was so angry and felt so sorry that the concert was cancelled because of him. But even after this day, he said that he had no memory of getting good sleep because he felt guilty for hurting so many people and that he would even wake up from his sleep in cold sweat. However, his actions that followed left a deep impression on fans. In January of 2016, when all the BTS members were given a vacation, he went alone to Kobe in Japan, where the concert was scheduled. After visiting Kobe's concert hall out of remorse and regret for not being able to perform due to his sickness, he once again left a long post on Twitter which touched many fans, especially Japanese fans. Meanwhile, in an interview with a media outlet when asked if he cried recently, he replied, "When I came to Seoul, I couldn't really see my family, and even though my parents came to Seoul specifically to see me, I was so busy that I could only talk to them for 3 minutes, and then I cried because it was so sad." And the year after this interview, he found his parents on the last day of the Most Beautiful Moment in Life concert on May 8th, Parents' Day, and bowed down and shed a lot of tears. Meanwhile, he says this at the end of their hugely loved album series. "I think if there's a beginning, there's an end. I personally think that this album series is the best album of my life. But if water is stuck in one place, the water is bound to rot. So I will come back with better music." And Suga, as he promised, shocked the public with his incredible music afterwards, and that was August D. Suga started...
How you doing, honey?
I'm good.
Beautiful, right?
It's beautiful. And it's so sad and so beautiful because he works so hard to be able to prove himself and like to have your parents say like you're not going to make it, no one's going to be able to make it by music. You can't support people. My dad called it the starving artist.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you want to be a starving artist when you grow up?
Have
Good
fun.
luck.
Yeah.
So like
yeah, absolutely. that's been looked down upon from
Forever.
a lot of
For every culture.
the generations, especially from our parents and all that. For some reason, weren't talking
Yeah.
about that, weren't pushing art that much. So crazy that they did come to see him and only had 3 minutes.
3
of time.
minutes. And like that's all he had. It wasn't that he didn't want to see them.
Yeah.
That's all he had.
He's working that hard.
Yeah, wow.
Multifaceted. And I know Suga gets accused for having a lot of kitty eyes. So I'm going to go save my kitty outside.
Oh, is he crying?
I heard kitty just a tiny bit ago. So if Pebby's not there, that's because he's left upset. All right, everyone. Like we said, the Pebby's was outside. He's in now. He's happy. You got your coffee.
I did get my coffee.
That's going to give a little extra spark in the thumbnail.
I hope so.
In the lady. Here we go.
Suga started music at an early age, so he went through a lot of difficulties compared to his peers, but he usually didn't express his feelings well. However, he always wished that through singing, people would realize the difficulties he experienced in his past and about the human Yoongi behind BTS.
Yeah, Yoongi.
He was neither Suga nor Yoongi, but August D, the name he used while showing his dark past and not hiding anything. He had never even mentioned a single mental problem or the shoulder accident in the past, so right after the release of the album, the impact on fans was tremendous. 140-503 at Dawn, a song about his social phobia and his past history. A song with sad lyrics, So Far Away.
No friends out of it.
Last, a song showing his darkest inner side and at the same time captures the most difficult days of his life. Due to the unique sentiment in Korea at the time about being a closed person, it was never easy for an idol to show his mental problems or his pain.
True.
But maybe because he felt that he couldn't speak freely about his past because it may have made a heavy burden. After August D, people around him, including producer Bang Si-hyuk, said Suga's personality has become very bright. Even Suga himself said, "One of the best things I did in 2016 was the release of August D's mixtape, and he was so satisfied with it."
Cool.
When people around him were worried that his mixtape was too strong, he answered like this: "I've been through so much since I was young, but I don't express those things very well. I always wanted someone to know that, and it seems to be solved with music. I think music is an excretion. That's why I made August D without hiding, and as a result, I feel at ease." Of course.
See, that is beautiful. Let's see that imagery one more time.
The light is shadow.
That's why I made August D without hiding, and as a result, I feel at ease. Of course.
See, we're experiencing his trilogy right now, and we always talk about killing the shadow self, but really in Jungian psychology, it's about incorporating it.
Yes.
It's not actually about completely killing it. It's about understanding that the multiple sides of yourself to then help you become yourself and to be free in the moment. That's really the whole point of it, is so that you can be free in the moment. They're all saying he's even getting out of his shell as that's happening, and after the release of his mixtapes for the August D, he got to finally tell about his pain.
He sure did. And the thing, like, with your shadow self is you can't fully experience anything like positive if you don't incorporate your shadow self. If you try to hide it or kill it, like I have even said in past reactions, then you're actually doing a disservice to yourself. You're doing a disservice to your own happiness in the future. So like what he's doing, like with that handshake of the shadow self, but then using the music to light the shadow on fire, is to fully be able to heal and remove while fully embracing and accepting and learning from what it was.
Absolutely. It's a cool journey to see this one with Suga.
It is.
Fans loved this mixtape. Fans loved him even more when they learned that Suga, who only appears on screen, is by no means a special being different from us, but rather just a normal human suffering pains, fears, and problems like everyone else. On the second studio album Wings, he participated in writing and composing many songs, but his solo song First Love was especially loved. When he recorded this song, tears burst out in the second half. but he was able to finish recording while crying really loudly.
Really?
In addition, in this
Wow.
song, his hard past appeared once again, making fans who couldn't get out of the shock of the last mixtape shed tears again. And BTS, who was really loved for Fire, received the grand prize for the first time at the 2016 Melon Music Award. Before their debut, SUGA and RM were at home watching the year-end awards ceremony one day and cried out, "When can we get the grand prize?" And eventually, they won the first grand prize that day. And less than 2 weeks later, BTS received another grand prize at the Mama Awards. He went on stage without much thought, but after receiving the award, SUGA, who always held up a stronger image for his younger siblings, shrugged and shed the most tears after winning the award, perhaps because he remembered his hard days. A few months later, in the broadcast, SUGA said, "I want to get on the Billboard," and actually a month later, his wish really came true.
And the Billboard Music Award goes to BTS!
BTS became the first K-pop group to receive the Billboard Top Social Artist Award.
Wow.
Of course, it was great to receive the grand prize on such a big stage for the first time, and to receive the Billboard Award after their debut, but unfortunately, the pressure he felt also started to mount.
And that's a perfect time to pause there, because this guy works so hard. Something that would be a validation for someone that has that victim mentality that you need to prove something to someone. You need titles, you need plaques, you need awards, you need proof. And when you get those finally, that's when you see those people who really put in the effort that maybe weren't as naturally talented as some of the other folks that had to really persevere through this. That's when you break down and you can just see it, because we saw the 16 hours plus days he was doing, and we all know all the members were going in as hard, but it's just we're focusing on SUGA right now, so it's giving the flowers to him and what he represents.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And like this was the perfect spot to pause, because they're about to go into how even getting a title like this, like you're saying, is something that you
You
need.
gonna get it next time though?
But then you need to keep achieving, because you still need to keep proving again and again and again.
They want to take you down too when this starts happening. That's the pressure, right?
Once you get into that next level of the hierarchy, because there are hierarchies within fame, once you get into that next level, the pressure, it mounts more. The amount of people that are coming to take you down are more. It's more vicious.
You got more eyes than you on the top.
You sure do.
Right? And it's just so cool to see his perseverance.
Yeah.
Again, this is like his, if I had to say one word for him, perseverance.
Perseverance.
In fact, during the Wings tour, SUGA said, "So many titles, such as the first time in the K-pop history, everything is good, but it's so burdensome and a little bit scary." But to wait was even harder for him. One day, they got told that they would be the first K-pop group to perform at the American Music Awards, one of the top 3 awards ceremonies in the United States. You would think that this was something to celebrate, but not for SUGA. Due to the nature of the idol industry, where idols do not have a long lifespan in the field, he thought that his life as a singer would gradually end after winning first place on a music show and holding a few solo concerts. And when things he could never have imagined continued to happen, he became even more scared of that situation.
Yeah.
If there was a senior who had this experience first, he would have asked, but he couldn't even ask because no one had walked the path that BTS had walked. The weight of
true.
Hey, honey, I bet you didn't think when we started this channel you'd be going to the Netherlands to take pictures for our concerts. That's some pressure. Right?
That's some huge pressure.
That's some real pressure that you want, but it's still so hard.
I never thought I'd have a photography coming out of this channel.
Yeah. There's so much that's like, look at you guys. The Army and BTS has saved our lives. We were in a very bad mental place that we needed something to kick us out, and we needed these gentlemen to really come in our lives to kick us out of our
funk,
just our narrow-minded way of thinking. And they're are the ones that are breaking the norms, because they even let us know Hagum also means to just change norms as well.
Change the norm.
So there's something in the spirit of that, and as well as being that traditional thing. So he just brings so much life, and it's so cool that everyone started enjoying him even more once they got his personality more, once he was open about his past.
Yeah, absolutely.
The weight of being famous was so heavy that he said, "The day I made our US debut through the AMAs was the most nerve-wracking experience, and yet that day held a lot of meaning for him." In this way, BTS successfully completed their US TV debut stage by presenting the title song DNA off their new album at the 2017 AMAs. The fact that BTS was the first Korean group to be on the stage, and that they performed a song composed entirely of Korean, not English lyrics at the AMAs, was such a great achievement. But with it, Suga's burden increased too. Immediately after finishing the AMA stage performance, he returned to his hotel room and cried in the shower. He wasn't crying out of a "wow, I finally did it" feeling, but rather shedding tears because he was scared of what was coming next.
Yeah.
He had achieved more than he had ever dreamed of, the Billboard, the AMAs, etc. But when most stars peak, they fall to their lowest.
Yep.
So as he showered, he thought, what am I going to do now? Which was incredibly hard on him.
Yeah.
Recalling that time, he said this, "I cried in the hotel that day. I felt like this is not what I wanted, because I didn't want to be in such a burdensome situation. It's such an honor and I'm so grateful. But on the other hand, I also thought, is this right? Is this really what we've been hoping for?" As a singer, he just did his job diligently. But when articles that read things like the Patriots who contributed to South Korea, BTS, appeared, he started to think, the next album should be better, the next one should be better. And after struggling with that pressure, he would even think, why did I start music? Which drove him into a deep crisis.
God, he thinks
Furthermore,
so much.
on the last day of the Wings Tour final, which had been going on for 10 months, was Suga feeling pressure or was it appreciation to the fans? Well, as the members spoke one by one, the other members shed tears, but Suga cried the most.
저도 이제 더 울 일은 이제 없을 거라고 생각했는데, 뭔가 약간 좀 진짜 이 파이널 콘의 진짜 마지막이 되니까 뭔가 감정이 좀 달라지네요. 그러니까 저희 방탄소년단이 참 이 억압과 편견을 막아내고 우리 같이 우리 음악을 들려주겠다고 시작을 했는데 이제서야 5년이 지난 지금에서야 이제 그런 이제 죄송합니다. 네, 5년이 지난 지금 이제 저희들의 무대와 이제 음악들을 이제 많은 사람들한테 들려줄 수 있는 것 같아가지고요. 너무너무 감사하고 그 모든 것들이 다 저희 팬 여러분들 덕분이라고 생각을 해요. 너무 감사드리고 네, 앞으로는 진짜 이제 웃는 날만 있었으면 좋겠는데.
You way to end that.
너무 기쁜데도 눈물이 나네요. 정말 너무 감사드리고 다시 한번 저희 팬 여러분들한테 감사하고 사랑한다는 말씀 전해드리고 싶습니다. 감사합니다. 사랑합니다.
Despite Suga's aforementioned wish, I hope there will only be days to
I literally can't get through a BTS without crying.
But I think that's like, it's not a shame on people. Everyone's like allowed to have kind of some walls, but like I know a lot of people where I'm from, even in the male community, they're not gonna give BTS or Suga 1 second.
No.
And if only people would all around the world, which is what he then is starting to experience as it's going around the world, you really get to see the beauty of people all around the world get changed by the people they are.
Yeah.
Because it's those moments when they're just talking in the mic and they're joking around that really sticks out the most, even though their music's that incredible, breaking records and winning awards. But them as people, I think it's honestly what heals you the most, and that's why they're such a good community.
I agree 100%.
smile in the future, the members seriously considered the disbandment of the group, possibly due to the increased stress and pressure that the BTS members were under.
되게 올해 초가 생각이 나는데요. 올해 초에 저희가 되게 심적으로 많이 힘들었었어요. 그래서 저희끼리 얘기를 하면서 해체를 할까 말까 고민도 했고.
And Suga, who previously said in his song, "Have a dream every time," now sent a slightly different message than before, perhaps due to the changes and hard times he's been through.
하시는 거 다 잘 되고 꿈 모두 이루시고 꿈이 없으신 분들도 괜찮습니다. 뭐 꿈 없을 수도 있어요. 행복하시면 됩니다.
Just be happy.
새해를 시작하면서 행복하게 한 해 또 마무리 짓는 그런 2018년이 되었으면 좋겠습니다.
During this time, Suga made a song from the sentence, "You may not have any dreams, just be happy." And this was the song from the third full-length album Paradise.
Cool.
Regarding the song, he said, "The world induces infinite competition, even though it has never taught us how to dream. Paradise is a song I made thinking of those who are exhausted from infinite competition."
Yeah.
The third studio album, which included this song, was ranked #1 on the Billboard 200 for the first time since its release.
Wow.
And in an interview at that time, Suga carefully answered the question, "What's your next goal?" And the other BTS members seemed very surprised to hear his response.
So what's the next step for BTS?
Next step.
Yeah, the next step.
Next step.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Grammy.
Grammy. There you go.
Wow.
No, see, you say that now, but watch. This
Really
time next
sad
year will be like, so the Grammys. Yeah.
We'll see. Grammy is like a whole nother world. So.
Wow. Interesting.
Okay. I think he said it first time. It's like, so, yeah, he's not joking, maybe.
Before, they were just joking around, never imagining what would happen. Later, though, as Suga said, he would be
the realization of like, oh man, we just put that out in the ether. That's a tough one to go because, like they're saying, that's a whole different company that you're battling against, and we've seen all the nasty things that has happened in Grammy's history.
They are. The Grammys are nasty.
So we won't even pinpoint
That's some
this time.
competition. And then look here, the next screen, BTS scored 3 2023 Grammy nominations.
Yeah, but I don't think we found out they haven't won one.
Not yet.
So
not yet.
Fingers crossed.
But the nominations are there.
Never imagining what would happen. Later, though, as Suga said, they would be nominated for a Grammy Award 3 times. After BTS reached the top of the world, the members struggled for a long time. In the midst of this incredibly successful period, they had deep doubts and were very skeptical about the marketing of BTS. In an interview ahead of the release for their third album, before hitting #1 on the Billboard 200, Suga said the following about the interest and expectations they were met with. "Looks like I'm flying too high. I see too much, see too far. I thought I would always be happy above the clouds, but when I look down, I get scared sometimes." He used to struggle with similar concerns, but after this interview, BTS became the first Koreans to top the Billboard 200, and the pressure increased with that as well. A little later, in the BTS dinner party...
I'm sorry, that really resonated with me because I always have a dream where I am flying in my car above the clouds whenever I'm making a really big step on things that are like I have to be responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of something that's kind of representing there, I think.
Absolutely. I'm flying too high. I'm seeing too much. It's a great view.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a lot of what's happening, and it's really scary because this fall would be intense.
But at least you are in control.
But you're still in control.
Right?
video, Suga expressed his feelings as follows.
나 항상 그게 되게 불안했었거든. 되게 아 내가 지금 이렇게 잘 되고 있는데 이게 내가 가지고 있는 걸 잃어버리면 뭐 이걸 놓쳐버리면 인생 끝나는 거죠. 그러니까 그런 거에 대해서 너무 막 그런 거에 대해서 막 너무 심했었어가지고. 되게 나는 그거에 대해서 되게 무섭던 것 같아. 내가 이렇게 내가 가지고 있고 내가 이렇게 지금 잘 되고 있는 게 없어지면 사그라들면 나라는 존재는 도대체 뭘 위해서 사는가라는 걸 생각했던 것 같은데.
Of course, everyone had a hard time thinking, do we really have to disband the group? But among the members, Suga's fear was greater in a different sense.
내가 잘하고 있는지 점수를 매겨 본다면 몇 점인 거예요? 나는 이제 사람 성향이 나는 되게 나를 낮게 생각을 하고 있어. 그래 내가 이만큼 해볼게 내가 이만큼 해볼게 하면서 이렇게 살아왔었어.
He'd been asking himself this question for a long time. What would I be able to do if I was alone when I'm not working for BTS? And every time he thought, there was so little I could do without the other members. He was deeply concerned about being left alone, and sometimes when he was by himself, the fear came over him very strongly. And the emotional chaos that weighed on him, the fear he had to deal with, were reflected in the song Tear. Tear is actually known to the public as a song reflecting the feelings of a person in a relationship who has broken up, but it was actually a song written by SUGA that reflected on the times where he had worries about the group's supposed disbandment, afraid of being left alone.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the production...
See, I love their ambiguous lyrics because you always can interpret it like a group experience or an individual experience or an experience for yourself. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
There's just always many ways it gets
Everyone listened to the song together, they all shed many tears. Below are some of SUGA's rap lyrics from the song Tear. This is the real you and this is the real me. Now that I've seen the ending, I no longer hold grudges. I woke up from a sweet dream and I closed my eyes. We know what to say. The answer is already there, but it's always difficult to choose that answer. Fortunately, however, the BTS members were able to get through this difficult time and even come out of it stronger because they spoke openly about the concerns of each member without hesitation, always respecting each other's thoughts.
Smart.
Meanwhile, through the
Open
repackaged
forums.
album of Love Yourself, SUGA presented Seesaw, a song about a breakup. And after that, BTS started their Love Yourself concert tour around the world. Because of his experience as a trainee, SUGA tended to have a fear of crowded places even up to this point. Strangely though, he didn't feel this fear as much in the concert hall, and he was really happy there. BTS embarked on a 10-month tour in which they only slept for a few hours while still performing at full capacity and traveling all the time. When they were on tour in the US, BTS's influence had grown to such an extent that the American morning news reported their schedule, so SUGA later said this in a broadcast. It is also a lot of pressure. I take it to a certain extent, but I start to feel the pressure and burden that I have to be a morally perfect person as well as flawless.
Tough.
Endless tours later, SUGA continued to work on songs in his hotel room. Given that SUGA had been making music for such a long time,
What a
you'd think
grinder.
he'd get tired of it, but he wasn't, and music remained his greatest joy. I started music because I liked it, but in a way it's become a love-hate relationship. Sometimes I don't like this job, but then I like it so much that I can't seem to live without it. If I think about living without performing or music, I would get bored quickly. But aside from his words, my life is music, there was still a void that music couldn't fill. And that was the loneliness and emptiness he felt. If we look at BTS, the most famous group in the world, and focus on SUGA, most people think, oh, he has a perfect life that leaves nothing to be desired. But just as everyone wants what they can't have, he too has things to envy others for. For most of us, it's normal to travel, eat outside, and go to the movies with family or friends, and we take it for granted. But for him, these things are still very special. However, unfortunately, unlike other BTS members, SUGA wasn't lucky enough to have truly close friends, so he envied others for their normal lives.
얻은 만큼 잃는 거죠. 잃은 만큼 얻는 거. 평범함을 잃었죠. 일단 가장 큰 거는. 그 말은 남들한테 평범한 건 저한테 되게 특별한 거고. 남들에게 특별한 건 저한테 되게 평범한 거예요. 그러면 이제 어느 순간 뭐랄까 가치가 되게 달라져요. 가치관이 그러니까 세상을 바라보는 가치관들이 평범한 것들이 특별해져 보이기 시작을 한다는 거죠.
Their fourth studio album came out soon after 10 months of intense touring.
You okay?
Yeah.
You're just very quiet and zoned out.
I need to pause for a second. I'm good.
Give me a kiss. Thank you. Nice tits. Here we go. You say nothing.
But suddenly, BTS faced a completely unimaginable situation: COVID. At that time, all artists faced an unprecedented situation, yet BTS showed their best side. Suga continued to show outstanding songwriting qualities in the fourth album.
That's when I actually started to hear about BTS for the first time, was during COVID.
Yeah, because you needed like music of hope, but also like some thought-provoking messages too.
That whistle that we heard that you said sounded familiar, I'm pretty sure I've heard it in like TikTok videos.
Probably. It's a DNA, I think the song was, and that sounds familiar too.
It does sound familiar.
Yeah. Can't wait to check it out one day.
And the solo song Interlude Shadow reflected the pressure and fear they all felt after their success, and this earned him a lot of love. After the release of their fourth regular album, a big tour was planned, with all preparations completed, but due to the worldwide pandemic, everything had to be cancelled. This was very frustrating for all members, but Suga found refuge in music again. Still during the COVID-19 era, Suga, who spent most of his time in the studio, presented his second mixtape D2 in just 4 years under the name August D. After listening to the 10 finished songs, the company dismissed the album, saying it had too many swear words. But PD Bang Si-hyuk offered him words of encouragement. If you want, you can do it. So Suga revised the songs again, and finally he could publish it. Also on the D2 album, Suga clearly wanted fans to think, Suga makes music, putting a lot of thought and effort into it, openly showing his train of thought just like before. What was really decisive, however, was the previously unknown loss of his best friend, who was a drug addict and only became known through this album. And with Daechwita, he became the first Korean solo artist to enter the Billboard Hot 100 and Billboard 200 simultaneously and reach 100 million YouTube views in 1 month.
Wow.
What do you think?
We listen to that song every morning with Oliver.
Ollie, you know what? Ollie's dancing for it. He does the finger point.
Our 2-year-old dancing with his finger point.
It's the best thing. We gotta get that on camera for y'all.
A song aimed squarely at the press at a time when they were constantly publishing articles about BTS. Moonlight, Hunsul, and People are songs that contain what Yoongi wanted to say as a human being, not as Suga from BTS. And of course, Dear My Friend, a song that broke many people's heart. Suga, who is well known for not having any friends, expressed every moment he went through in his music. And Dear My Friend tells many stories, such as his best friend who went to prison for drugs and was released in the middle of a snowy winter. Suga soon lost his only friend because he tried to drag him into his drug use. This song shocked the public and made them wonder, is Suga really that honest? And later, while talking about the behind the scenes of D2 through V-Live, when he listened to Dear My Friend with fans, a fan said, "This song is so sad," and he left a short message. When a fan later heard Suga's statement, "I'm not sad," she left a comment, "I think the reason he's not sad anymore is because he's been crying so much that he can't be sad anymore. Jeez. He cried so much that he had no more feelings. Suga, please just be happy." And this drew a lot of attention from the people. Meanwhile, with Dynamite, a song released after August D's second album, BTS reached #1 on the Billboard 100 for the first time. Of course, it was great to win first.
Yes.
He's special. That's it.
He's special.
He's just special.
Place on the Billboard chart, but his anxiety grew.
내가 원치 않은 걸 이뤄졌을 때도 불안했었어. 내가 간절히 바랬던 투어가 취소되는 거 보면서도 불안했어. 다이너마이트가 터진 것 모습도 불안했어.
And suddenly,
Very true.
Big Hit made an official announcement that Suga will have shoulder surgery. His shoulder was in really bad shape at the time. During the overseas tour, he endured pain injections in each city he moved to, but the choreography for their new album, including the songs Black Swan and On, were so intense that he couldn't use his arms after the choreography anymore. Even the day after he accidentally slept on his left side, his left arm was so damaged that he couldn't use it at all. However, there was another decisive reason for the shoulder injury, which had been a problem for 8 years. While filming a commercial for beverage, there was a scene where he was holding a 500ml plastic bottle with his left hand, but his shoulder was so sore that he couldn't even hold that one bottle. So at that time, he pondered, can I continue to live with this? And decided to get surgery. Suga, who needed absolute stability after the surgery, couldn't participate in broadcasting activities after the release of the B album, but he made many people happy with a good song. Telepathy conveys the meaning of being the happiest when BTS meets armies. Since then, BTS has achieved its 3rd and 4th Billboard 100 #1 achievements with Life Goes On and Butter. At the same time that the members' military enlistment approached, Suga started to prepare for his solo career. Also, he participated in writing, composing, and producing Psy's That That.
Wow! I'm so excited. I almost don't want to hear it. Because we have this planned, y'all. Like, if you checked our post, this is one of the ones that's coming down for the Suga time. So I almost don't want to hear it.
I love Psy.
I know, that's what I mean. But we're gonna.
Composing and producing Psy's That That. As he participated in the That That's choreography for their fans, he didn't show any sign of pain, stating, I filmed the music video purely for the armies who are watching, even though his shoulder was still not fully recovered after the surgery.
Wow.
BTS was at its peak of popularity and influence,
He did that
topping
after
the Billboard
surgery?
4 times with Dynamite, Permission to Dance, Life Goes On, and Butter. They even met up with President Joe Biden at the White House.
Big deal.
But suddenly, they declared the temporary suspension of BTS. All the members had a hard time for their own reasons. But in Suga's case, he had been working on songs for 8 years since his debut in 2013, so he said, really, I have nothing more to say. In order to be able to be active for a longer period of time, it was obviously necessary that each of them got their time out. But it was difficult to express their position because they felt so sorry for the armies. However, numerous articles written by Korean media afterwards made it even more difficult. Later in a broadcast, Suga stated this about the articles. After our last announcement of the temporary suspension of activities, articles such as BTS activities suspended in tears, and even rumors of a disbandment began to appear one by one, so I was a little scared. But it's not like that. We're really just taking a short break, and the fear came because people seemed to be advising us to take a rest forever. However, at a time when everyone was feeling sorry with those incidents, something even worse happened to Suga. As BTS's military enlistment approached, a verse from August's D2 album, What Do You Think, got a lot of attention in Korea. Although BTS had long stated that they would enlist in the military, the media and lawmakers regarding their military enlistment made the issue of BTS's military enlistment or exemption the biggest social issue in Korea at that time.
Wow.
The phrase, which includes swear words in the song, was put on the screen, and there was even a debate among lawmakers saying, why do you keep mentioning BTS's military exemption even though BTS Suga says he is going to the army himself? Also, the lyrics, which contain swear words, written by Suga appeared on the main screen of Korean news almost every day at that time. Of course, with the arguments of these legislators, his song lyrics containing profanity, and the news articles circulating daily, the public was particularly interested in Suga's military affairs and began to ponder his next move. And after that, an article appeared stating that Suga was working as a social worker rather than an active duty soldier due to a shoulder injury, so the media and the public began to criticize him. In fact, before BTS debuted, the song Adult Child, which he helped compose and rapped in, included the lyrics, The reality is a healthy first-class target for active duty. Why am I just unnecessarily healthy? These lyrics began to resurface and were seen as problematic. To explain further, in
He's
Korea,
just so
every
honest
man
and
must
open.
undergo a physical...
That's the thing. When you're so honest and open, you can get torn apart for every word you say. So I think as Suga has learned after he's addressed all these trolls and all these things, he now knows how to handle every single scenario because he's gone through the gauntlet with everything.
Sure
Could you imagine that pressure going to military and having all eyes on you and getting scrutinized at every move, even though you're getting enlisted and all these things?
You're still going. You're not.
Yeah, you're still doing. They all did it, and some of them are still doing it.
You're still in the military as a social worker rather than an active duty soldier. You're still There's so many different branches of the military and so many different jobs within the military that have to be
part of the body.
A part of the body, because if you try writing with no arms, right? Just try writing.
No elbow.
No elbow, no arms, no nothing. Just do it.
Yeah.
You can, but it's difficult and you need to learn new ways to do it, or you need to force another department to take over the job of a department that's no longer there.
Yeah.
So like, as someone who's lived on the military base, that's like, I just find that so disrespectful to then criticize him for not being in active duty when there's so many other branches like social work, which is dealing with the families of the military, and sometimes the families need just as much help, if not more, than the soldiers who are on active duty, because the families have to be taken care of too.
And Suga can tell the truth, so that's helpful.
Exactly.
Exam before being drafted into the military. If you receive a first-class result on the physical exam, it means you have no physical problems and enlist as an active duty military conscript. And if you get a grade 4 or lower, it's difficult to serve on active duty, so military service will replace you as a community service staffer. However, Suga received a grade 4 in the physical examination after his previous shoulder surgery, and it was decided that he would serve in the social service personnel. When Suga was 20 years old, he received a first-class score on the fitness examination. But after his shoulder operation, he had to repeat this examination, which resulted in a grade 4, which is why he was only suitable for social service.
That makes sense to us.
This is why the situation blew up in Korea, as many people didn't know about the injury and thought Suga was just taking advantage of his celebrity status. Only a handful of BTS fans knew about his injury and his physical issues that occurred after, such as when he couldn't even hold the 500ml bottle properly because he hadn't been properly rehabilitated and treated for 9 years. Despite knowing all the context, the behavior of the Korean media at the time, which incited the public with provocative titles, was really disrespectful.
That's so interesting. There's so many people you don't know that have injuries that you don't even know about. I bet many of you didn't know my finger's like broken, stuck like this. It
Stuck
can't
like
move.
that forever.
No one probably knew that, and like you wouldn't know that, and because you're not someone trying to get attention from your injuries, and that's something Suga has never wanted, was sympathy.
Absolutely.
Especially because if he already thinks he is that victim mentality, he doesn't want to add to that.
Absolutely.
The public who criticized Suga said, "Does it make sense that a previously healthy body just so happened to suddenly deteriorate right before he goes into the army?" Basically, social service personnel is just another form of military service, so it shouldn't matter. However, even though some of them were aware of this, they just wanted to include a successful BTS member in their negative headlines.
Yeah.
Jin, as the eldest brother, also enlisted first, and over time, the issues surrounding Suga's shoulder became public knowledge, and criticism fell silent. After Jin's enlistment in the military, as all the members started solo activities, Suga also started preparing for his solo activities in earnest. He announced the start of his first solo world tour among BTS members, and released Augusti's third album D-Day in 3 years. Augusti's previous albums focused a lot on the past, but this D-Day album shows that he is finally moving on from the past and focusing on the present. The album was named D-Day with the meaning, "I will no longer struggle with the past that I can't fix and the future that I can't predict. And from now on, let's live only in the present, and that day is today." However, when BTS announced the temporary suspension of their activities, Suga said, there's nothing more to say now. So the preparation process for the D-Day album was particularly difficult. Producer Bang Si-hyuk even asked Suga, who is obsessively making music, "You're incredibly successful now, but when you're feeling miserable about making music now, then what the hell are you working for?" Days after days of just making music and torturing himself finally got him into a crisis. In particular, in the case of the title song Haegum, it was a song that he had already made 3 years ago at the time of Daechwita, but the finishing process was very difficult. The album release date was getting closer, and when nothing worked out, he was so desperate that he went alone to the mountains to work. And in the end, Suga finished the album and returned to Seoul.
That's like...
But for some reason,
this guy's like a prophet.
Yeah.
This guy's like going up
Went
in the
to
mountains.
It's like, I need to get away.
It's like a philosopher. Like, this is like Friedrich Nietzsche going in the mountains. Like, oh my gosh.
Listening to the songs in Seoul again did change his perspective. It was so awful for him, so he gave up on it and delayed the release date.
Wow.
He completely retired from making music for a period of time, and was even hospitalized, receiving IVs for a fast recovery. Maybe it was because he was on a break, but all his senses were awake and fresh now, so when he listened to the previously discarded records again, he felt they were very good. That's how he decided to release the D-Day album with the thought, now I really have to let go of these things I've been holding on to for 3 years. In keeping with the title track Haegum, it has 2 meanings, an instrument name and to liberate from forbidden things, and contains the thought, let me liberate from the things forbidden by society. After the release of this song, he didn't listen to it himself, because by the time it was released, he had listened to it more than 10,000 times. However, there's one song he still enjoys listening to, and that's People from his latest album D2. And the song he made with those similar feelings was People Part 2. Amygdala, a song for people who have suffered until now due to a trauma of the past, and for those still living in the past. Suga wrote the songs.
If y'all saw our reaction to Haegum when we brought up amygdala, we like asked you what it was. It's a part of the brain.
It is a part of the brain.
Isn't that like what does the amygdala do? Though?
Oh, I think
process thing.
I think it processes emotion or something like that.
Yeah, because I know it's not memory. That's a hippocampus. No. But I don't. That's cool that we because y'all let us know.
Absolutely.
News to bring comfort to those who are struggling in all sorts of ways, including his juniors who are now working in the music industry and people who are facing personal challenges just like himself. With the song, Suga wanted to convey the message, everything is fine and everything will be okay. Maybe the message of the album was, let's focus on the present, not the future or the past. Because after the release of D-Day, he said, I think I'm really growing up now that my earlier anger and confusion has gone and calmed down. In 2017, he once said, there are times when making good music isn't always easy. It's difficult, tiring, and even lonely. But the songs that are created like this make people happier. That's why it's stressful.
Yeah, you got that right.
And 6 years later, in 2023, he answered a question about the driving force behind making music non-stop with, I have seen many reactions from fans, such as, I was able to survive the most difficult days of my life thanks to BTS's music.
How many people have said that,
if I continue to present new music, there are many people who still gain strength and change their lives out of it. That's why 99% of my reason to make music is for the armies who listen to it. Sentences like that show how precious armies are to him, and it's clear that his affection for the other members is extraordinary. When people who don't know Suga very well see him, they may feel a sense of distance due to his cold appearance. In fact, he said right at the beginning of his debut that he likes to be alone, and he often uses the lyrics, I don't give a shit in his songs, and he often showed that he doesn't care what other people's views are. However, the same person who always says that he always enjoys being alone seems to actually want love and attention more than anyone else.
Yes.
Anyone who has followed the person Min Yoongi for a long time knows this very well. What a loving and humane person he is at BTS. His warmth can often be seen by watching the BTS members' self-produced shows. In the Forest, he said, "I don't really like fishing, but Jin likes to fish with me, so I'm happy to see him happy." When J-Hope and Jimin started playing a game, he was the one who closed the book he was reading and came down to make snacks for them. And when the members gathered together to drink, he went into the kitchen alone to prepare food for them. And actually, he was the one who cooked the most every time they traveled. Even when RM asked him, "Do you have a dream you want to achieve as a human Min Yoongi?" he cherished the members most and said, "No matter how much time will pass, until we become grandfathers, my dream is to be with the 7 members."
Wow.
Also, Suga once said this,
Until we're grandfathers?
"I don't know how to comfort others when they cry. I'm not used to being comforted because I always cried alone. If I have a tough time, it's okay to struggle and cry alone because I'm used to it. But seeing the members around me having a hard time is several times harder. Like this, he cares for the armies and other members more than anyone else in his heart, but Suga is not able to express it well. But wouldn't he desperately want someone to know his real heart?" In a previous fan meeting, a fan handed Suga a paper with the title "How to Handle Suga," and Suga himself wrote these instructions. "Please be nice to me, please love me, please adore me." I hope that Suga, who looks cold on the outside, but has a warm soul more than anyone else, will no longer shed tears and have to suffer alone. And I'm ending this video with the hope that you will be nice to, love, and adore the person Min Yoongi more than anyone else.
Jeez, well done again. I love these documentaries for them. That was so well done.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
I need to get a Kleenex box.
Oh.
No, I don't want the dirty cloth.
Oh wow. Hey honey, that's how did we top that? We don't need no dirty cloth, we need tissues. But I think what's just so cool for me is how much he reminds me of you, like through and through, top to bottom, and I mean that in the most loving way and the most precious way. And it's really cool because you can see why people love this man so much, Min Yoongi, and it's nice to have that now in my body because I always love knowing the real name as well as the stage name as well as the representation of what you wanted to be too. I've gone through name changes myself, even if y'all knew my past, so I really understand the incorporation thing and then being able to move away from it when it's not needed anymore. And I want to know at the end there what was feeling so overwhelming for you too.
When he said that it's really, he finds it very difficult to be able to comfort someone, especially when they're in pain, when they're crying. This is actually something you and I go through often. And he's not able to handle other people's pain, crying, and all of that very well because he always had to suffer through it alone. So he never had an example of how to help someone through the pain
comforted correctly.
and how to be comforted correctly.
Yeah.
And so that really hit for me.
Absolutely.
So, and I think it was explained in such a beautiful, poetic way that if you've experienced that kind of inadequacies within yourself, sometimes it's hard to explain why they're happening like that, or you don't want to explain it because it's almost like a defeat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the way that it was explained and being able to know that this is something that he has suffered through, so then also feels guilty about, which you can also see just with his statement, "I don't know how to help."
100%.
So like that just really resonated with me with him, and that definitely was one of those like swallow the tears types moments.
He makes you swallow a lot of tears and he brings the tears out. And I think what you were saying at the beginning is you can't really judge a book by its cover with someone like this. Something we go through a lot is your facial expressions are a lot more in the reserved side.
I have a resting bitch face, yes.
Or you're just saying it that way. Suga was getting accused for not being as like accessible because of the way he was looking and his demeanor and all that. So you didn't expect some of these softer sides and these other sides to these people. Another way why in this reflection, and that's what we're doing. We're going all in with Suga here, so we're understanding, and that's why it's just so cool. That's why we're falling in love with him even more and more. And we definitely, as you saw at the end there, Sachita, the episode number 1 with RM is going to be coming very, very soon too. So definitely stay tuned. Again, if you want to support us, just hit the like button, comment down below what your experience with this amazing documentary was. If we missed anything when we were crying or talking, we do apologize, but I think we did pretty good this time at pausing when we were talking, because y'all let us know that's how you like it. We want to make sure y'all are having a great experience too, because like Suga said, 99% of the reason why we're here is because of the viewers and the connection that we get from you. So we really appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you're not a Chronican yet, Army. We do appreciate it too. And again, at the bottom of the description, we'll have the Patreon. If you ever want to support us and go the extra mile, you get some voting, you get some early access, you even get deleted videos that can't make it onto YouTube, which does happen from time to time. So with all that said, we are now exiting the rabbit hole, folks.
Thank you so much, Army, for being here with us and Chronicans. This was such it was a treat. It was an adventure. It was an emotional roller coaster all the way through. I'm really excited that we finally got to learn all this information about Suga and hear his backstory, his like becoming Suga story. And this has been
trials and tribulations.
His trials and tribulations. And I can't wait to see what else is going to come down the rabbit hole for Suga, as well as the rest of the BTS members. So thank you for being here with us. Peace and love, everyone.
God bless y'all.
Take care, and bye for now.